When people talk about forgotten Nintendo IPs, of course you hear about series like F-Zero, Star Tropics, Golden Sun, and Excitebike, but if you think those are forgotten, I'm still here waiting for Ice Climber 2. The Ice Climber series has had a slew of re-releases and ports of the first game, including the Virtual Console service, and even a port on Animal Crossing for the GameCube, but has never had an actual sequel past the first game. What keeps this series truly alive are the main series characters, Nana and Popo, who have starred in Nintendo Super Smash Bros. Melee and Brawl as a 2-in-1 character. In that game, they're known as the Ice Climbers. The Ice Climbers' combination of a unique playstyle and their use in competitive play is really the only thing that's keeping the series in conversation. I actually don't know why the first game never got a sequel. Maybe it was because the game was lost in the many NES titles when it was brought over to the States and it could have not been popular in Japan. Or perhaps the game just wasn't that good to begin with. No matter what, this is a review of Ice Climber, released in 1985 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. So you're ready for a gripping story that's too complex to fit into a small 3-minute review? Well, you aren't going to get that here. In fact, the opening probably finished before I even stopped this sentence. Yeah, Ice Climber's plot's really bare bones simple, which to be fair, every other NES game I've reviewed so far hasn't had that much of a story, so I'm not going to cut this one any slack. So, the actual plot to Ice Climbers involves a pterodactyl stealing your vegetable of the day, and it's up to the Ice Climbers, Nana and Popo, to climb up that mountain, beating up polar bears, ice yetis, and seals, your monster. When you get to a certain height, the game enters a bonus stage in which you purposely fall off and just move on to the next stage. Meaning, yes, you could technically beat every single stage in the game and not even beat the objective that the plot tells you to do. But if you do fail in the bonus stages, it does result in a crying Popo, so I guess this is a bad ending? I don't know. But the game itself seems pretty easy just from the premise. But oh no. If I could come up for a reason why Ice Climbers never took off anywhere, it's because, well, the first game was a pain in the ass to control. So as you would guess, the game is called Ice Climber, meaning ice physics and some stone cold controls that really work against the player. You move left and right, and you have a button to swing your hammer. Popo controls like crap to progress up the mountain though. You gotta break these blocks by jumping through them. But the problem is, the collision detection doesn't work. Yes, that's right, while it looks like you would easily make it, you usually clip through the first 2 blocks when you jump, and it can be really annoying trying to get through these stages as fast as possible. As I already mentioned, you got enemies like yetis and polar bears, and you can swing your hammer to keep them away from covering up your holes. The problem is, the hammer also doesn't work. As many times as I swing my hammer at a yeti, it maybe registers on the 3rd swing. You got these bird enemies that fly through blocks and you gotta try to kill them too by simply jumping into them. And guess what? Because of the great collision detection, you still die even when you jump into the birds. Like, imagine Super Mario Brothers, you jump into a Goomba, but you might have a 50% chance of killing the Goomba. The other 50%, you die. Kinda sucks, doesn't it? With these constant collision issues, it makes it well impossible to actually get to that bird at the top of the mountain. I almost forgot, you don't even have the ability to move mid-air when jumping. You're the equivalent of a rock. And who am I kidding? A rock has more movement than Popo or Nana. The game isn't LJN bad, however, there are a few redeeming factors. First of all, the game does provide you a level select at the title screen, meaning if you get a game over, you can go back and select the mountain you stopped at, which is a pretty nice feature to have with these old arcade games. Second of all is the soundtrack, which is probably the most redeeming factor of the game. Even though it's an early NES game with like 2 tracks, they're pretty nice, and we'll get some great remixes in Super Smash Bros. Melee. The graphics are actually pretty bright and colorful, with each vegetable having googly eyes. But once again, the biggest problem with the game that could make it rage-inducing really than it has to be, is the control. Something that should be the highest priority in game making, like don't even start nothing else until you get the control down with the game. If Ice Climber is released today nowadays in its current state like as an indie game, you can easily confuse it for some type of shovelware. However, this was a Nintendo first party release. And I don't know about the Famicom version, that version might have been better, but I'm pretty disappointed in their first game. Which is, once again, it's a shame. I love the Ice Climbers as characters, and I would love to see this game redone, maybe as an eShop title on the Nintendo Switch, you know, with the Joy-Cons. It makes it perfect for a 2-player game, but I don't know if we're honestly going to see that. In my mind, I can imagine a world where Nintendo would release an Ice Climber sequel with updating the graphics with HD 2D sprites like Mania, adding some weather effects, and making the controls perfect, and you could honestly have a really good about $15 eShop title. The original Ice Climber isn't that good, but really, in the end, it's up to you. Maybe you enjoyed the title and are curious about where the Ice Climbers came from, as I were when Super Smash Bros. Brawl came out. As I already mentioned before, there are a slew of ports of Ice Climber. If you got Animal Crossing on the GameCube, you can unlock the Ice Climber ROM and play it that way. The e-reader has an Ice Climber card you could play. I would just recommend you won't buy it on the eShop for $5. It's honestly way too much for a game that somehow has worse controls than the original Donkey Kong on NES. Buy something like Dr. Mario instead, which is much better quality and a title I can recommend. The Ice Climbers was one of my favorite Nintendo duos. I fell in love with them in the Super Smash Bros. Series, and I'll continue loving them, but not the original game. Sakurai cut the Ice Climbers from Smash Bros. 4 because of the 3DS being underpowered at the time. With Smash being the leading title at their E3 conference this year, I hope not only they'll be playable on the show floor, but Nintendo will also be a new title in the series. Nintendo could make a lot of simple eShops out of their minor IPs and make bank off of it. Remember the Wii had that Dr. Mario spin-off, the Excitebike spin-off? I feel like they could do the same thing again. Plus, if you need a developer Nintendo, you can hit me up. I'm learning Game Maker at the moment. I could cook up an Ice Climber 2 out of the back of my pocket. Well, if you guys enjoyed this small quick look at Ice Climber, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for future reviews. I have social media links and Patreon down below. Also, I have finally reached that 99 mark of YouTube videos, so the next one, expect the top 10 to celebrate the 100 videos on YouTube. Finally, I'm Cybershroom, and as always, I hope you have a good one.